Your Minnesota Vikings kick off the divisional slate this weekend with their game in Chicago versus the Bears. Both teams 1-4. By the way, at the
Mhm.
end of this video, we will give our predictions, so make sure you hang around for that. But anyway, pretty big game. Obviously, as I said, the Vikings' first divisional matchup. This will go a long way in deciding who has the leg up in this division or the leg up in the draft pick. So that's a talk for a different day. But anyway, we're gonna be here talking about how the Minnesota Vikings can win this game against the Chicago Bears. It is a game that we should win. Obviously, the Bears are coming off of a pretty big offensive performance, at least for a couple of guys,
Mhm.
which we'll talk about a bit here. But overall, just the way that this matchup shakes out, even with no Justin Jefferson, the Minnesota Vikings should be able to find a way to pull this one off. I mean, I know in Chicago, it's always been kind of a tough place to play for Vikings teams. I know we've had quite a bit of success there as of late. But yeah, I mean, they present some challenges, which we'll talk about. But overall, I think we're better than this Bears team. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, like you said, even without Justin Jefferson, I do think we are the better team. And if we ended up losing, obviously, then I think it'd be a point of time for Vikings to probably look towards selling than
Yeah.
being a
Yep.
buy or whatever. I mean, some people would argue that right now, but obviously, because this is a game, a 1-4 Bears team that has not been good outside of last game, and they are what the game before that against Denver, they let Denver come.
Yeah.
Was
Come
it?
back from
Yeah, they let Denver
huge
come
deficit.
back and
Yep.
all that stuff. And
Yep.
I mean, to point on this, I just you got Justin Fields. We've seen. I would consider their offense almost similar to a very poor man's version of the Eagles offense, and we were able to keep Jalen Hurts in check and in the
Hmm.
pocket. The problem with that is we had like only 3 or 4 guys on the line of scrimmage, so they were able to run overall us all day because we had to worry about Devonta Smith, we had to worry about AJ Brown, we have to worry about Goddard. Well, this game we kind of just have to worry about DJ Moore mostly. Obviously, there is Mooney and stuff like that, but I'm not too worried about it.
Mooney's bad.
It's kind of similar. It'll be a similar situation to the Kansas City Chiefs, and because of us only having to worry about Kelsey, we were able to put more people on the line, and their run game wasn't able to destroy us like that Eagles games did. So I do think it'll be a similar situation with this game where you got a guy who's Justin Fields, and your goal is to keep him in the pocket because he's pretty much only going to beat you with his legs. You want him to beat you with his arm, and it did look like Flores can kind of bring in that type of defense that can control a running mobile quarterback. So if that's the case, and we can keep him inside the pocket, and he has to use his arm to throw, and we don't have to bring so many people backwards, so we can stop their run, which is also not great because Khalil
Right.
Herbert's out. There are other rookies in concussion protocol, so they might just be running with Foreman, who isn't the fastest running back in the game either. So, I mean, I just think it is kind of like a poor man. If we game plan against them in a similar way as we did with Philadelphia, except for we can even put more on the line of scrimmage, I don't see how their offense is going to do that great. And assuming that, I mean, even without Justin Jefferson, you still do have Addison and Hawkinson and Madison and Kirk
Right.
Cousins and all that. And I'm still liking that probably against their defense.
For sure. And that's the biggest thing. I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there is keeping Justin Fields contained in the pocket, which so far this year, as you've said, we've done a pretty good job of. We did a decent job of against Mahomes last week as well.
Yeah.
But you feel like with Fields, like Mahomes just is really good against pressures because of his arm and because of his eyes down the field and all the things he's able to do.
Mm-hmm.
Justin Fields, I feel like I think this will be a big game where as long as you can keep him contained, you will send more after him just because
Yeah.
he's shown he's not great under pressure. And if you can keep him contained in that pocket, he's going to make some mistakes. And it's just, I mean, I think that's the key to success here is make him uncomfortable, but yet keep him in that pocket. Because as soon as you let him break it, that's when he can break off some of those big runs. And obviously, he's going to have a little extra confidence coming off a game where he did throw for 282 yards, still only 50% completion. But really, the biggest thing is here then is watching out for DJ Moore, who has been pretty solid these last couple
Right.
weeks. Last week, for sure,
Yeah.
8 catches,
Not
20,
even
30
solid.
yards, and
Solid's
3
understatement on
touchdowns.
this guy.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
solid because he's had 2 good games in a row. Before that, he was, kind of growing into this offense as he was getting used to the personnel there.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
The
8
last
catches,
couple games
230
have been.
yards. Yeah, for sure. These have been his breakout games. There are 3 touchdowns. We all knew this. DJ Moore was talented, even playing with whatever quarterbacks he was stuck with in Carolina. He always still found a way to put up some points. So, and then Cole Kmet's a solid tight end as well. So, those are really the 2 weapons you need to watch out for. Darnell Mooney is really just fallen off the face of the earth. Like 2 years ago, or last year even, he was considered to be a potential number 1 receiver. And now I don't even know, he didn't have a single catch last week. I have been fantasy. I think he's only had 2 weeks where he's put up any sort of points.
I mean, who
So
who else is catching the ball for them right now
right, I mean,
outside
Chase
of
Claypool's gone now, so they don't
yeah,
have
Chase
that.
Claypool's
Robert Tunyon,
gone.
former Packers, playing
Oh
there.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
so really on offense, it's the key to the game is get some pressure on Fields, keep him in the pocket, and make sure that DJ Moore doesn't beat you. If you can do those things, at least from a defensive standpoint, you should be perfectly fine. So,
Yeah, and then it's
um,
really just our offense, who should be good
yes,
enough, especially with seeing Addison. It'll be interesting. You lose Justin Jefferson, but we do get to see Jordan Addison on offense get.
we need to see Jordan
Hopefully,
Addison.
I'm assuming it's a wide receiver. I'm gonna say a wide receiver one role. I don't know if he's gonna be looking like that because that's the one thing I like. I love some Jordan Addison. He is a young player, and he doesn't have. Even though when Justin Jefferson went down at the end there, I mean, we were still seeing some production out of Jordan Addison, but Jordan Addison will be going against their best. I don't know who is their cornerbacks right now, if you can see.
That's a great
But he's going to be
question.
going against their best cornerback, and here going forward until Justin Jefferson comes back, he will be continuing probably to go against their best quarterback corners, unless the other team. I'm assuming if they watch any tape, they're not going to put their best corner on KJ right now. So I do think Jordan Addison is going to be going up against higher competition, and he also doesn't have Justin Jefferson to pull players away from him as he did, which is a reason why we should went to Jordan Addison more to begin with
Right.
this whole
But I
time.
think
But so that's another thing that for Jordan Addison, it's like, I do really want to see him succeed, but he is going to have a lot more eyes on him in this
for sure.
game.
And that's the biggest thing. It's like what I want to see with no Justin Jefferson, and it does. Again, at the end of the day, whatever direction you think the Vikings should take from here to the end of the season doesn't really matter here, because I do still want to see some growth from Kevin O'Connell in certain aspects of the game. Which without
Yeah.
Justin Jefferson, this is the best way you're going to see exactly what you have on this team, because you're going to need to spread the ball around a little bit more. You don't have
Right.
that safety blanket of, oh crap, things aren't working, I'm just going to chuck it up and hope JJ can do something about it. You do need to be creative in getting your playmakers the ball. I'd like to see a little bit more Cam Akers in this game, even just from a pure aspect of screens or throwing the ball out to him short, just instead of running up the gut all the time. Trying some different things like that, and just getting some more use out of Jordan Addison, putting him out there in some different routes, designing plays for him to get open and see what he can do. Because as we both kind of thought, we haven't seen what we thought we'd see from Jordan Addison yet this season. He's been kind of our deep threat, which is really, really weird, where we thought he'd come in and be that guy that's just going to hurt you over the middle of the field. But as we've also said, this offense hasn't been able to find any sort of rhythm where you're having those quick hitting short type of plays that lead to the big
Right.
bomb. It's always been runs or big shots or drop
Other than the
passes or
beginning of
fumbles. So it's
other than last game was actually, and we talked about this,
right, yeah, for
against
sure.
Kansas City, they started to doing that, and like Jordan Addison's perfect for that role,
Right.
and like you said, they're not really using him, and I do expect to even use him a little bit more, from just little dump offs, and I wouldn't even be surprised if we see some screens. We also have Brandon Powell in this as well,
Yeah,
who
he looked good
obviously
last
is
week.
known for he is known for his speed, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see a couple screens out of him or dump offs and just little thing like that. And he's another guy that might be good to beat people in the middle as well. So I do think maybe you do see a little bit more of that. I do think we'll still see. It'll be interesting. That deep threat thing probably is still Jordan Addison. He has been that
Yeah.
guy for us so far.
Because we
Otherwise,
don't
we
really have
might be
anybody else
worried
with
about that.
a lot of speed. Now that
Yeah,
Jalen Nailor's
Other than
obviously
Powell,
out.
but I don't
Yeah,
think
Powell,
Powell's
yeah.
known to be. He isn't known to be some sort of a route running type of like
Yeah.
Jordan Addison. He's not. Jordan Addison's a special player because he is fast enough to beat someone deep, but he also has the ability, the route running ability to get players away from him. And
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
he's been doing fantastic in that way. So yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, that's something hopefully in this game we do see a lot more of is those little short passes instead of having to do the run so much. But I do agree with you that I am hoping that we do start seeing more and more Cam Akers, because you just see his speed. Every single time he touches the ball, like you can just see the difference between him and Madison. I do know we probably will get Kine back this week as well. I don't
Is that
know
what it
how
sounds
much.
like?
Yeah, he was full participant
Oh,
in
nice.
practice and
I did
everything.
not see that.
So it'll be interesting. I'm assuming we'll put him right back there with for kick return. I highly doubt we see much of him in the actual offense, but it'll be interesting to see him back returning kicks. He probably would have been more in the offense if we didn't get Cam Akers.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I mean, what else? besides those positions. I mean, obviously TJ Hawkinson will have to
Yeah.
catch the ball because he's going to be used a lot too. We didn't even touch on him. I mean, I'm kind of going in this. You're going to see KJ Osborne a lot too, just because Kirk loves KJ Osborne. So, but I do think TJ Hawkinson, I mean, we need to see him catch some passes here. And that's going to be the big thing. I mean, I like our offense without JJ even against the Bears defense. And it is, again, a game that we should win even without him in it.
Yeah,
because I mean,
absolutely.
Bears are one of the worst teams.
I would agree. I mean, outside, I mean, as from a pass blocking perspective, I mean, they got Unique. I think that's really one of the only guys you have to worry about. Not a lot of huge names on that defense, which I think is why obviously Denver was able to come back on him a couple weeks ago, and even Washington ended up putting up 20 on him, and I believe 359 passing yards by Sam Howell. So this defense is gettable, right? It's just you can't let Justin Fields and DJ Moore get hot, and you got to keep Justin Fields in the pocket, make him play quarterback because he does not like to play your traditional pocket passing quarterback. It throws him completely off his game. But again, this is a game a Vikings should win, and honestly, you could almost call it the turning point of the season. Like if they win this, you got San Francisco, but at least it's like, okay, another win. You're 2-4.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a shot. You won a division game. That's big. But if you lose, then there's going to be a lot of talk about tanking, selling, whatever you want to call it. It's all kind of the same.
We'll call it selling.
Yeah. But yeah.
Well, that's what you have. Like Broncos are selling like crazy.
Right. Yeah.
The Broncos are selling. Like it's obvious. Like they're trying to sell. Hardcore.
Sure.
But
I don't know. It's a weird feeling game because it feels like it should be bigger, but at the same time, with the way the season's gone, you're just kind of like
1-4 teams, and we lost Justin Jefferson. Because that's the thing about this game too, is like, again, like if you want any hope, obviously this is a game that we feel like we should win. It's like the Carolina game. Like we should just win this, but we should win by a lot, even without Justin Jefferson. This is a bad team. So I mean, if it ends up being close, it's just gonna kind of be like, well, big deal or whatever. But at the same time, like, with our team and how they have been playing without Justin Jefferson, it's not crazy to think that we could end up losing this as well. So we're kind of right there with this.
If the Bears do lose, if we do lose this game to the Bears, at least they don't own the top 2 picks in the draft anymore. So we have that.
And that's another thing too. I do want to mention that too, is you're right on that, because we do not want them to have the top 2. And now we've talked a lot of trash about Justin Fields and all that. And that's not even his fault. It's mostly the media's for hyping him up to the stratosphere. That's not even fair for that guy. But now we kind of have to root for this guy, because we need everything possible for the Bears to think that Justin Fields is their future.
Our defense got Daniel Jones $40 million last year. So it can happen. We've seen it happen before. This team makes people think their quarterbacks are legit. And
we're just we're just destroying franchise futures of franchises.
Exactly. But anyway, score predictions for this game. What do you got?
Score prediction. So again, I do think we should win this. I don't think it is going to be as without JJ. I don't think it's going to be as high scoring, or not high scoring, but as far apart as even though we haven't been doing that with Justin Jefferson. Anyways, I'm going to go with 24-21 with the Vikings. I'm not ready to give up on the Vikings. If they lose this, then, I'm never going to, I'm always going to want the Vikings to win every single game. But Dave had a really good point actually yesterday. It's one of those things where at this point in the season, it's just going to be okay if we lose or if we win at this point, because we don't know what we want.
Like the mindset's different with this season for sure. Cause in those seasons where your team is young and you have that young quarterback and you have a ton of young pieces, you're sitting there like, I want to win because I want to try to sneak into the playoffs and show that we can do it. But with a team where you're like, there's so many players on this team that could be gone next year. And let's be honest, the writing's on the wall. We're starting over at quarterback next season, right?
Right.
So I think it's at the point where if we lose, it's like, this team is just kind of a wash anyway. We have some pieces, but it's not enough. We know that there's big changes on the horizon with the starting quarterback position plus some other places on the team.
Right.
Or at this point, you're kind of just like, let's just get it over with. Rip off the Band-Aid, and you got to go.
And you're gonna go into every game still hoping your team wins. Like every game we
Right.
go into, it's just like obviously, unless it's like literally week 18, and we know if we lose this, like Houston and the Bears last season, if
Yeah.
it's like that, then I might be like, all right, let's just lose this game. If it
Mhm.
gets to that point and it's the difference between Caleb Williams or not, other than that, like I'm just expecting our team to win some games. I just
For
do.
sure.
So I think no
Yep.
matter what, whether people like it or not, we're gonna be a middle of the pack team.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm gonna root for our team to win, and then if they don't, it will be just kind of like, well,
Icing on
the
it's the
season is
cherry
just
on, like,
not.
a cherry on top. What's the word I'm looking for? There's a phrase for it where it's like at the end of the day, it's like, okay, we lost, but hey, we're getting closer to maybe having a better pick. It is what it
Yeah,
is. But
we're gonna be in a
it's a
very
weird,
weird
yeah.
situation, especially if we lose this game.
Yeah,
Especially
for
if we
sure.
lose this game. But
But
what's
my
your prediction?
prediction, I mean, it's one of those games where, like, again, if you're looking towards the future, you still want to see that your head coach without your biggest weapon is going to be able to draw up a good game plan and still run a good offense. That's what I want to see. I still want to see that growth out of him as an offensive play caller and a head coach in these games.
Mm-hmm.
Give me 27-21 Vikings. I think they'll find a way to pull this one off on the road, get that first divisional win, and keep the Bears with the top 2 picks in the draft this year, unfortunately. But it kind of is what it is. We want to know your guys' score predictions. Drop those down in the comment section, and to see you guys next time right here on the GG Sports Podcast.
Skol Vikes.